Alrighty, boys and girls, here we are with another math video. This time we're taking on Chapter 6, Section 6, Solve Inequalities by Addition or Subtraction. Now this section is really similar to Chapter 6, Section 1, where we solved one-step equations with addition or subtraction, except for instead of equations, inequalities. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the symbols and signs that we need to understand, all the vocabulary, so that we can do this lesson the right way. Okay, the first one that we're going to look at is the greater than sign. An example of the greater than symbol in use, 3 is greater than 2. The next symbol that we have to know is the greater than or equal to symbol. Notice that it's the same as the greater than symbol, but on the bottom it has half of an equal sign. That's where it gets its name, greater than or equal to. An example of that would be 3 is greater than or equal to x. So in this example, let's take a look at the values for x. Since it says 3 is greater than or equal to, well, the first part, 3 greater than x. So that means that x cannot be greater than 3. So x could not equal 4, couldn't equal 5, but it also says that 3 could be equal to x. So that means x could equal 3, it could also be 2, it could also be 1, it just can't be above 3. Let's take a look at the next one. Less than. Notice it's going the other way, the opposite of the greater than symbol. Let's take a look at an example. 2 is less than 3, and that should make sense. Let's take a look at the last one, and I'm sure you can guess what it is. Less than or equal to. And an example of that would be 2 is less than or equal to x. So in this example, 2 could be equal to x, so x might be equal to 2. But also it says 2 is less than x, so that's possible also. So if 2 is less than x, then that means x could be any number equal to or greater than 2. So x could be 3, 4, 5, a million, or it could equal 2. But x could not be equal to 1, or any of the negative numbers, or 0. Another thing I want you to notice is when we read these, we read them from left to right, just like an English sentence, word, or book. 3 is greater than 2. 3 is greater than or equal to x. 2 is less than 3. 2 less than or equal to x. Left to right. Alright, so now that we have the vocab out of the way, there's two things we're going to look at. One, we're going to look at how to solve these addition, subtraction, inequalities, and then two, we're going to look at how to graph them. First, let's take a look at solving. So we're going to solve these addition, subtraction, inequalities just like addition, subtraction equations. Let's take a look. On the left, I have an equation. On the right, I have an inequality. X plus 3 is greater than 10. Let's take a look and watch how I solve these. So as you can see, I solve them the exact same way. The difference is the equation has an equal sign, the inequality does not. Let's take a look at another example. I look at the side with the variable, it has a minus 5. The opposite of minus 5 is plus 5. Negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1. Next, let's take a look at how to graph inequalities. First, I'll give you the steps. First step is to draw a simple number line. Next step, draw a circle on the number line at the number. So not above the number line, not below it, right on it at that number. And with that circle, if you have a greater than or less than symbol, you're going to leave it open, which means leave it empty, don't color it in. If you have a greater than or equal to or less than or equal to symbol, you're going to have what's called a closed circle, which means you're going to shade it in. Kind of like if you're taking a multiple choice test and you have to shade in the bubble, same thing. Now, before I go into step 3, I want to explain why you actually do this. So when you have an open circle, that means the variable cannot be that number. That's why it's open. A closed circle means the variable can be that number. Now let's go on to step 3. You're going to shade the side, either left or right, on the number line with possible values of the variable. Let's take a look at the examples, and I think this will make a lot more sense to you. Okay, do you remember the steps? Step 1, draw a simple number line. A simple number line is a straight line, arrow on both ends, and the only number we're going to mark on this number line is the number that we have here in our inequality. So we just put the 7 there, that's it. Next, we're going to draw our circle right on the number line. And since x cannot equal 7, we're going to leave that circle open. We're going to leave it empty. Now, when we think about it, x is greater than 7. So that means all the values of x, they're all going to be bigger than 7. It could be 8, 9, 10, a million. All the numbers greater than 7 are to the right, so we're going to shade in to the right on that number line. And we're done. Let's take a look at a couple other examples. So starting on the right-hand side, x greater than or equal to 6.5. So let's draw our simple number line. Next we draw a circle. Now, can x equal 6.5? Well, yes. We've got greater than or equal to, we've got the sign right there, so we know that x can equal 6.5. So we're going to go ahead and shade in that circle. And next we ask ourselves, is x going to be greater than this number or less than the number? Well, x can be greater than or equal to 6.5, so that means x could be any of the numbers greater than this, that means to the right. So let's go ahead and shade in that as well. Now, for the last one, we actually have to solve this before we can graph it. We have x plus 3 greater than 3. First thing we're going to do, look at the side with the variable, that's the left-hand side, and we want to get rid of that plus 3. So now that we know h is greater than 0, let's graph it. Start out by drawing a simple number line. Now put our circle there. Since h cannot equal 0, we're going to leave that circle empty. And h is greater than 0, so that means h could be all the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, million, and so forth. So we're going to shade to the right. And that is everything for Chapter 6, Section 6. If you need to see more